On July 11, 1984, Chris Harvey, 15, took his dog for a walk and was last seen talking to his neighbor around 3 p.m. Later that night, Chris's dog returned alone to the summer home that the Harveys owned, and the frantic search for their son began. Despite quick action and a massive search that concluded that there was a 95% chance that Chris was likely outside of the county, and dedicated parents who never gave up, Chris's case remains unsolved. Chris and his parents lived in Texas and summered in Hinsdale County, Colorado, where they owned a home in a mobile park on the edge of San Juan National Forest, around 17 miles northwest of Pagosa Springs. On July 11, 1984, Christopher left his home to visit a neighbor's trailer, and the neighbor confirmed that Chris did stop by, and they talked about Chris's plans to attend band camp later in the summer. Chris left his friend's home around 3:30 p.m. and took his dog for a walk. Later that night, Chris's dog would return home to the trailer without Chris. He was reported missing at 11 p.m. that night. Because of the location and the fact that they had another county provide law enforcement services for that county, it took until noon the following day for an official search to begin. But authorities did begin searching for Chris the night he was reported missing. Initially, investigators believed that Chris most likely had gone for a hike and had gotten lost. They learned from his family that he was an excellent backpacker, but when he left the house that day, he did not have any of the necessary supplies to be in the forest for an extended time. The Archuleta County Sheriff's Department searched from noon on July 12th until the following Friday at 4 p.m. The following weekend, the Archuleta County organized an even bigger search involving fire rescue teams, helicopters, and dogs. Investigators say they spent over $1,500 in manpower and equipment, and that once the search was concluded, they were sure that there was a 95% probability that Chris was no longer in the county. While law enforcement is conducting these searches, Chris's family and friends got together and began creating and distributing posters of Chris all across the state. They also began calling their local representatives to see if they could get any additional support in the search for their son. A representative at the time, Kent Hance, encouraged the Harveys to contact the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and assigned a technical advisor who would remain in touch with the Harveys throughout their search. 2 months later in September, investigators would notify them that a badly beaten boy had been found on the roadside in Eagle County, Colorado, and was rushed to the hospital in Grand Junction, Colorado. He was undergoing surgery, and the boy's physical characteristics matched their son. When this boy came out of surgery, he had bandages on his face, and it was obstructed by the respirator. So when Chris's parents arrived at the hospital, it was hard to determine whether this was their son or not. Doctors decided the best course of action was to get dental records for Chris and match them against this young man's teeth, and unfortunately, they were not a match. They were able to identify the boy and get him back to his parents, and despite the heartbreaking disappointment that it wasn't their son, the Harveys remained close friends with the boy and his family. The Harveys say they have never taken issue with law enforcement in the way that they approach searching for their son. They feel like they've always been involved and kept up to date, and feel like they've had lots of support from their community and law enforcement. But there have been no clues in their son's case at this point, and no direction of where to look next. His parents told the New York Times in November 1984 that Chris disappeared only with the clothes he was wearing, and they don't know whether he was abducted, ran away, or met another fate. Investigators do believe that foul play was involved in Chris's disappearance, and his case remains unsolved. When Chris was last seen, he was 15 years old, around 5'11", weighing around 135 pounds. He was seen wearing a long-sleeve brown or tan plaid shirt, blue jeans, a leather Western-style belt with a buckle that had the inscription Chris, Nike hiking shoes with red laces, and a black digital watch. He's described as a Caucasian male with light brown hair and brown eyes. He has moles on both of his arms and on the upper right side of his chest. If you have any information on Chris's disappearance, you can contact the Hinsdale County Sheriff's Office at 970-944-2291 or the Texas Department of Public Safety at 1-800-346-3243. Thank you so much for taking the time to get to know Chris today, and don't forget, when you see those missing and murder posts on social media, share, because every time we share a face, we do get closer to solving a case, and I will see you all back here for another day in Colorado.